Good day, all. Mondays with Matt. Great to have you here, Matt. In the last couple of weeks, we've been taking one of your posts and kind of unpacking that. This time, it kind of plays off of one of your posts that talks about the importance or the difference between rushing for speed versus focusing on strategy, right? So that got us started on a conversation late last week. And we said, really, there's three terms that we want to redefine in higher ed. So we're going to take our time, work our way through it. Let's talk about the first term you want to almost take back or redefine because you could tell it's being used incorrectly or there's a misunderstanding about this term in higher ed. What's the one we want to unpack today?
Let's go after transformation. Everyone talks about transformation, but it's really about transaction. And they believe transaction and adjusting and creating and designing around transaction is a transformation when it's really not.
So the thought is the word transformation has been used for the last 10 years plus, right? And it's used, unfortunately, to describe transactional implementations or transactional activities happening on campus. Yet the expectation is, oh, we're going to get these incredible results. The student experience is going to transform. The staff experience is going to be so much better. And there's use case after use case after use case demonstrating that that just isn't true. So henceforth, there was nothing transformational about it. You just replaced one transactional system, let's say, with another transactional system, or one transactional process with kind of another transactional process, right?
Yeah. And when we think about transaction, the reason we're talking about transaction is they're laying technology over a transaction to streamline it. And in the 90s, that was transformational. That was totally transformational. When we were moving from manual to something that automated things, that collected stuff on system and data, that was transformational.
Yeah, because you guys used to do like paper, right?
Yeah, I had a paper vault. I would go in and get the actual paper and stick stickers on there, type on top of it. That was the ledger. So yeah, when we got a computer and we were able to print and see and view, that was transformation. That isn't transformation today. And yet today you put a ERP system in, an SIS system, a CRM in. You think that is transformation when you layer it over things that aren't really transformational. Those are back-end offices that have no bearing other than just effective record keeping, right? That's what we're really doing. Yeah.
So yeah, I can use CRM as an example, right? We talk about SIS a lot, but let's use CRM as an example. Schools are spending millions of dollars in CRM system that just send email. At the end of the day, the outcome is still, oh, we're triggering a bunch of workflows that just send the student an email. What's transformational about that? And everything about that is transactional. And there's nothing wrong with it, but let's call transactional, and let's call transformational, right? That's our point, really. You need the transactional stuff till today.
Yeah. And let's just reverse it, right? What could be transformational about a CRM, right? I'll give you a hint. Like, you have data around everything a student does. You know outcomes historically if you just look at the data. Wouldn't it be neat to take that data, identify what is the potential things that are happening, and nudge students using a CRM, using a system of engagement, a system of experience, giving them the opportunity to transform their outcomes inside of campus? They're not using
the intelligence, right? Because they just said, oh, I got to let students know that they owe us money. We need an email to go out for that. Let's just program the CRM to do it. Matt, I don't know how, but somehow Google Maps knows that I'm going to Miami International Airport, or I should be going to Miami International Airport today. I didn't tell it. I didn't do a search for MIA today, but I did buy a plane ticket, and that plane ticket is on my calendar. And because that plane ticket's on my calendar, somehow I'm being given driving directions with a single click to MIA.
Because it's intelligent, right?
Right.
It's giving you the intelligence. If you don't design your CRM with intelligence and you're designing it to a transaction, you're going to get transactional outcomes.
So that's just one example of what's transactional versus what's transformational. I can go spend the same $1 million, $2 million, $5 million on the CRM, and just have it do a bunch of transactional things and think, wow, we put in CRM, but nothing's really different on your campus. Students are still getting inundated with emails, and versus saying, hey, we're going to spend $5 million on CRM. Let's build strategy. Let's bring in expertise to build strategy to really be transformational with this multi-million-dollar investment.
So when people don't think strategic or don't have the ability to think strategic, they think transactional.
It's the default in higher ed, right?
The default in higher ed. And in many cases, because they are thinking of the issues, they're looking at the transaction of that issue. And then they go to a vendor, and the vendor, of course, is telling you, oh, we'll solve that for you. And we're going to transform how you bring in students, how we will add prospects to you, how we will engage with your students. And the reality of it is, yeah, you buy the product and then it sits on the shelf more than just in a way that I would say is just sitting collecting dust when it has the capabilities to do more. But if you don't have the strategy and you're trying to save money by putting something in because you think it will help you address the issue that you have around enrollment. If you don't have an enrollment strategy, I don't care what type of CRM you're going to put in.
Yeah, Matt, as you were talking, it reminded me, even the last few weeks, you've had David from our team on to talk about, how to use Slate well, right? Slate is a CRM. You could just buy it and use it very transactionally, and a lot of schools do, and they wonder why they're kind of getting okay results. Or you could use Slate transformationally. And David was starting to help people in the webcast start to figure out how to engineer the system to do predictive analytics, to anticipate trends and take actions on it. But that takes strategy, right? So yeah, that's an example of we can keep buying technology and say we're being transformational, but be very transactional, or we can actually pursue transformation and get incredible results.
Yeah. And it's really unfortunate because Slate's a good product, right? The fact that David is able to show you how to predict scoring and being able to identify where you start to nudge students, right? That's the reason why we're doing that series. But if you look at what you get from schools, and I know when it's a Slate school, because, my daughter went to, through the recruiting process, you can see the templated
It's the same
emails,
from every school, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, my kid, same thing. He's going away to college this year, and same old stuff.
It's actually sad. And you know what? You may be thinking you're saving money, but you're actually looking like sheep, as opposed to nudging that student to what makes your campus special. You have to use the power of the technology. If you're using the power of transaction, you're doing 1990s work. If you're using the power of transformation, you're starting to use technology to allow for you to reimagine how you interact with students through their experience, through their engagement, through their completion.
In closing, I would just say, Matt, you teach our clients all the time, start by reimagining a completely different experience and then back into the technology versus ask the technology what it can do. And based on a demo, go buy the technology and you're using 5% of it, 10% of it. So in summary, one of the words we want to take back and redefine, and I hope a lot of our viewers and listeners do the same, is there's transactional stuff and there's transformational stuff. Let's keep them separate so we don't confuse ourselves and each other and set the wrong expectations in the process.
You have to expect transformation, because right now you expect transformation and you're getting transaction.
Yeah.
And you have to expect outcomes that transform your campus. That's transformation. And technology, and I know people believe I'm really hard on the vendors. I'm not hard on the vendors. I believe the vendors are creating good products. I believe the sales process and the implementation process is handcuffing it because they're trying to save money in terms of how to put the software in. And the reality of it is, if you put that software in, the amount of money you're going to put in implementation is pennies compared to what you will get out of it. And that's what I'm really telling people. Focus on the strategy, decide what the implementation costs because the impact's going to be greater. Drive your campus towards a transformational where it's about direction and not the speed of putting that software in.
All right. Mondays with Matt. Thanks, everyone, for listening in and watching. Matt, we'll see you next time as we work on the next two items we want to take back and redefine for higher ed.
I'm excited about the next two. So that's good.